The double deceiver. Start with some schlappen feathers, here in white. Find nice two full webby fibers that come to a point and don't like broad out and kind of like a square end. Find two that match pretty well and put the two concaving sides together, matching up the tips. Then strip off all the really fuzzy fibers from the ends. Then go to your first hook. Start your thread right behind the hook eye and cut the tag end off once it's secure. Bring it down to just above the point where the bend starts. With your feathers, go ahead and measure 2 times the hook shank in length tail and tie it on the back of the hook. Then go ahead and wrap up the stems and cut them off to make an even body. Then go to some UV polar chenille, here in gold. Tie it in by the tip at the back. And while pushing the fibers back over the others, take touching wraps up the hook shank. When you get to the point that's about an eye's length behind the eye, go ahead and tie the chenille off and cut it off free. Take threads of wrap to kind of angle all the pieces back. Then go to some bucktail. Go in towards the middle and get a nice clump, about a pencil in width, and cut it at the base, right where it touches the skin of the bucktail. Then kind of take all the long fibers out, leaving a nice, even bunch. It should extend to about halfway to the tail. Take that measurement and point it over the hook eye and flare it out with tight wraps of thread. Make sure your hook is inverted and you're tying now what used to be the bottom, but now the top of the hook shank. And then leave a little butt when you cut the rest of the bucktail off. This will help prop the deer hair up when we're making a bullet head. Make sure not to cut any of the polar chenille. Then, cut another clump of bucktail off, in a contrasting color, here chartreuse. Make sure the tips are aligned with the previous tied in, and use the same technique, but this time keep it in on top of the hook shank, with the hook not inverted. Then go ahead and cut the butts off, leaving that little clump there to help prop it out again. I like to add a couple drops of Sally Hansen's just to really save my process thus far. Then grab the top section and fold it over and secure it with wraps of thread. Then go ahead and do the same to the bottom. You should get a nice bullet head. And then go ahead and take tight wraps to splay the deer hair out. Go ahead and finish your thread over the bullet head. Then go ahead, once it's secure and the knot is seated well, go ahead and cut your thread off. I also like to cover the whole head in Sally Hansen's too, just so it doesn't come apart when toothy predators eat it. Then, insert your bigger hook in the vise. Take about 20 wraps of lead-free wire and add this to the bend of the hook. This will represent keel and help the fly ride better and more accurately with the hook points down. Start your thread behind the eye and cut your tag end off. Then bring your thread down around the lead wire wraps. And bring it back up. No need to cover the lead wire entirely. Then, grab some standard Senyo's intruder wire. Thread one end through the eye of the hook, and then bring it down into the bend a little, about halfway down. And then fold that piece that you went through the eye down. Cut another section off. Cut the rest of it off. Yeah. Then slide 2 beads in it. and go up through the eye of the second fly, making sure that that fly will ride hook down. And tie it down right about halfway down the bend. And take wraps, making the two things of wire parallel to each other, and then thread the tag end through the eye, and then again bend it back and tie it down. Then cover these wraps with Sally Hansen's. This will help keep from the back fly from getting out when the fish bites the back hook. Now secure a 5mm rattle about halfway in between the bend and the eye. Then again, cover these wraps with Sally Hansen's to make sure that the glass rattle doesn't rotate in the future of the tying process. Then go back to some gold puller chenille and wrap it down right where the fly is connected. And then again, take touching wraps while pushing the fibers back up over the glass rattle and continuing up until you reach not quite the back of the hook eye, but a little ways back. Then go ahead and take wraps of thread to cut it off. Take wraps over the puller chenille to where you reach the rattle, and this will help push the fibers back, creating a nice full body fly. Then, go to some white. Cut a bunch off that's about 2 times the thickness that we did for the back fly, and tie it down. It should reach about halfway to the collar of the first fly. And then again, cut the little butts off at an angle, leaving a nice little clump to help prop up the head. Now go to your chartreuse. Again, cutting a section about 2 times the width of the back fly. Making sure the tips are aligned. Go ahead and splay it again, this time on top of the hook. Then again, go ahead and cut the back ends off. And add some Sally Hansen's. Then again, push the top forward back. You may need to give it some aggressive pushing to expose the eye. And a hair packer may be needed. And then go ahead and create a nice bullet head. Then go ahead and whip finish your thread and cut it off. Then cut any of the fuzzies that may be sticking out over the eye. Then go to some big eyes. Use some UV resin and place a dot on the eye, and then squish it about where the tip reaches the thread. And then go ahead and cure your eye. And then do the same to the near side. And then, to cover the thread wraps, use some more UV resin to go around the head of the fly. Then go ahead and cure that too. And that's it, that's the fly.